And I think I'm gonna present it to you the same way I've presented it a couple times to other people, even though I'm not sure you're gonna be interested in some of this. To me, one idea is that we just leave the scaffolding up in place, that we close the courtroom and we don't use it, and we can move people back into it and back into the courthouse, and we just leave it for some other day and don't do anything and don't spend this money. It's an option. I don't know if it's a good option because Ms. Harrison is under the impression that our engineer thinks that it's still not safe to move people back in. I don't understand. I don't disagree that she got that impression, but I don't understand it because he verified it was safe for the ladies to have their Christmas bazaar stuff on the first floor and for the entire traveling public to wander through the halls of the lower courthouse as it is right now with that scaffolding in place. So it seems to me it should be safe for us to work in it if we wanted to. Okay, that's option one is, I guess, don't do anything. Option two is to not be happy with this particular quote and go out for bids. Now, that can be broken down into sub options. If we're not happy with the architect or the engineer, we could start all over with them. Find new architects, new engineers, or we can take this architect and this engineer and tell them that we want to go out further and wider and look for bidders that are qualified to do this kind of work. Clearly, the issue there is just how much more time it's going to take. And I don't know if we're going to get any better numbers either, frankly, but there you are. The next option is to accept this bid and move forward. Who do we have with us?
Stan Klein, and we have Mr. Stoddard.
Himself. Mr. Stoddard himself?
Yes.
Okay. So the other possibility is to set this quote and get started. As you know, I'm glad they're here because there's probably I hope you have some questions. I certainly am not very happy with the number is the number, and I don't know what to do about it. But the time period seems awfully long to me. Something to think about. But let me just break out two other possibilities for you. One is that you approve the number and we take what we have budgeted and then we finance the rest. The other is that you approve the numbers and we take what we have budgeted, which is about 800. We have about 710,000. And then we'll have about 100,000 left out of Starflight, so about 800,000 to apply toward this. Additionally, we have another 100,000 in the bank for insurance proceeds for the roof, which is that second figure on your sheet, about 435,000. And I think we have, wasn't able to verify yesterday what that number is, but I think we have an additional amount that we get in insurance proceeds once we actually do the work. I think it's about another 250 or so, but I don't know that yet. And that leaves us with about somewhere between, depending on the insurance proceeds, probably about 1.5 million, as much as 1.8, but as low as 1.4. Probably about 1.5 million. And my suggestion is, my preference would be that we conditionally finance that out of the reserves, out of county reserves, current money. I say, but I want to make real clear so that nobody comes back and says, you said I'm saying conditionally because I fully intend to bring to you a budget proposal that has about the same amount budgeted for next year as we budgeted for this year to help pay for this thing out of general revenue. But let's say they magically finish the project in August, before the next budget year ever comes around. We gotta pay them, and they finish the project, and that's why I say conditionally that we budget the rest of the payment out of, reserves. Now, I hope we have questions because, most of you are much more versed in construction than me, and, there's a lot of numbers on here. There's numbers for things like bolts in trusses, new bolts in the trusses, existing trusses. I don't know. I did get out of this, maybe a question I have for Mr. Stoddard, is that it appears that this proposal replaces some of the existing lumber in the upper structure. Mr. Stoddard, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me, Judge?
Yes, sir.
Um,
And I'm thinking, and I may have heard this in a conversation when you all were visiting around, but I get the impression that some of the lumber needs to be replaced.
Judge, I hate using words like a lot or some or little. There is lumber up there or structural members that we got to replace. That's really a very simple way of saying it, and it's certainly a little more complicated than it sounds. But and Judge, I don't want to jump ahead, but I did want to mention there are a few other options, and this is just from my perspective, it's sort of theoretical because y'all have to make the decisions and live with it and make sure you're doing the right thing economically for the county. But you could just make the structural repairs right now if money is really very tight. It is not overall the most economical way to do it, but you could just do the structural repairs and then redo the gondola, not gondola. Stan has the word for me, cupola, later. And that would save quite a bit of money. If you do it that way, going back later to do the cupola then costs you more than if you were to do it right now. But I did just want to mention that's a way to save, I don't know, $400,000 or $500,000. If I was the owner and I had the money to do it all at once, it's always cheaper to do it all at once. But I just did want to mention that was an option.
The thing about the cupola is that it's 110 years old, and to our knowledge, has never really had any refurbishment.
Yes, sir, it needs it. I mean, you're gonna have to do it now or next year or the year after. Feasibly, economically, it's going to be most efficient to do it all at once. But I didn't want to indicate to y'all in any way that y'all have, there's just absolutely no other option. And I will tell you, it seems like at one time, Judge, we gave y'all a budget number, and that budget number, though, did not include additional work to the wood framing up there that was added after that time. And I did want to mention, Judge, that there are several allowances in that number we've given you that we may use 10% of or none of. It's just there because I have done so many courthouses that I've come to realize that in these old buildings, there are often things that you're going to find that no one knew about till you're up there taking things apart. One thing is, for example, wood rot, termite rot, members being in worse shape than you thought. So there's money in there to hopefully cover anything that would come up. I believe in phase one, and we can go back and look, and Ron probably knows, we had allowances and we didn't use all of them. I hope that y'all don't use all of them in this project going forward, if you go forward. I hope to give y'all money back and y'all be happy and move on down the road. So this number does include contingencies so that y'all don't have to go back and ask, for more money.
And just for, there's a lot of people listening, and the biggest single piece to this project is that, are those great big, beams. Yes?
Yeah, I mean, one of the big things is that we're having to put together a bunch of structural steel, and we have to get it in that attic. And there's a lot of things we got to do on top of the building, to get that stuff in there. So that is a big part of it. But again, once you start adding the work to the cupola, the paint price, the roof, the sheet metal price, all those things are specialties, and they do cost a lot of money. I did also want to mention, Judge, just so you know, and Ron, correct me if I'm wrong, but this number also includes the rental that y'all would be paying for the shoring in the courtroom. Y'all pay a monthly fee for that shoring.
Yes, you're correct. It runs about $4,000 a month while it's sitting there.
And so this number includes that, Judge, so that y'all don't have to pay that, or we could take it off of this and you pay it. But I was just trying to give y'all an idea of the total number, which includes all that courtroom shoring rental.
So if I'm hearing you right, you're thinking that this number is sort of the outer limit, and if barring any change orders or anything, we might actually not spend all of it. And my question is, does that same concept apply to the 14 months you quoted? Is that hopefully not going to really be 14 months?
Yes, sir. Again, I'm trying to give y'all the worst picture, Judge, because there is too many times in courthouses where you uncover something, and when you uncover it, by the time the architect, the engineer tells us what the fix is and we price it, that takes time. I really, to be quite honest with you, need to be out of there in 11 and a half months to make any money.
The most alarming thing to me that I heard in conversations during meetings was, that not only have the beams not been started yet, because I guess you had to wait to see if you had a contract, but that I guess whoever the metal fabricators are, that it takes a long time, like 3 months or better, to make these beams. Did I hear that wrong? I hope.
Well, it doesn't take that long to make them, Judge. What happens is this: once we're cut loose, I have to get my superintendent and the steel guys out there in the attic and on site, and they got to do shop drawings. The shop drawings are done so that when they fabricate it, we know with reasonable certainty that we can make it all fit up there. And so once the shop drawings are done, the engineer reviews them. He sends them back to us. We send them to the structural steel guy. He starts fabricating. So in essence, once he has the approved shop drawings, and Ron, you've been dealing with our fabricator in phase one and this phase. They understand the time urgency, do they not? And they're ready to go when we're ready to go.
Yes, they do. I've kind of sat down and tried to get a preliminary timeline for that, and we're shooting for 45 days or less.
So I've got one more question before I want to pass it to Commissioner Leesman to start, or any commissioner. If they were to approve this project today, the next step is really for an actual contract to be presented and for our legal to look it over, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
When would they start? If we did
Sorry?
that, when would they start?
Yeah, and Commissioner Weir is asking if that were to happen, that process, when could you start?
Well, I mean, Judge, I can be, it depends on what you mean start. We're going to start immediately. First of all, I'd send you the contract. It'd be a standard AIA contract right out of the American Institute of Architects book, okay? I'd get it back from you. I would send all my subs contracts. I would ask them to provide us submittals. If you don't know, submittals are everything we're going to put into that project, the architect and engineer needs to approve. I would start that paperwork immediately. There would be no waiting. I can fence the property as soon as as soon as you tell me you want me to get the property fenced. I don't like to do things that are just for show. I like to do things efficiently. So probably in 2 weeks, we'd be there starting the fencing, protecting. Y'all have lots of things we have to protect in that building for us to start the work. We protect the floors, any exterior masonry that could possibly be damaged when we're doing scaffold work. So it would be 2 weeks after we have a signed contract. I'd be up there starting fencing and starting protection.
Commissioner?
So I have a question on your thermal moisture and protection. You have custom sheet metal roof at $249,849. And then you have in your alternate under roofing to go with the TCS metal at $295. What is that? What's your proposal in that first custom sheet metal roof? Is that the whole roof or is that just parts? What is that?
That's the cupola.
Yeah, yes, that's unskinning and reskinning the cupola.
Okay. But
And Commissioner, just so you know, may or may not matter, that number is from Turner Roofing. They're in San Antonio off 281. And they have done probably 25 courthouse restoration projects. 9 out of 10 roofers in Texas could not do that cupola work. They're just not qualified. These guys are historically qualified, and very good roofers.
so excluding alternate one, you would not be replacing the whole roof, just the cupola and the pieces that you had to get the trusses through there.
Yes, sir.
Yes, yeah, and just so it's clear on the cupola, it's the upper roof, it's the floor of the cupola, and any of the decorative sheet metal cornice work that's around it. It's basically, and the railing, any metal associated with the cupola is completely replaced.
Wait. Did you say before alternative number one?
Right, before alternate one.
Because alternative number one, my understanding is replacement of the whole roof.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but if we didn't want to do alternate one,
Well, but just so you know, we don't do alternate number one,
I fully intended alternate one.
the insurance,
Yeah,
I mean, most of it is paid for by insurance. Not all of it, but most of it.
yeah, alternate one, basically. I just wanted to clarify because I just seen pretty much close to the same amount, a little about 50,000 less. So that was what I was trying to clarify. My second question is on alternate 2, in your expertise, with that being a masonry building with a metal roof, how often do you install lightning protection?
In courthouses, almost every single one of them. I'm not saying that it's necessary. I'm not a fire protection expert. I can just tell you that it seems like we always do. And I think that, Commissioner, that it's primarily, not really for protection of the building, for protection of your IT stuff. It is the big reason that gets installed. Am I wrong, Stan?
Stan had to walk away for a minute with,
Oh, what do you think, Ron? It's normally for IT protection. I mean, it's possible lightning could strike a building, I guess, and catch it on fire, but
yeah, it's like in Baird, they did it for all the, the IT.
yeah, I think it's primarily for IT protection.
So does that include a grounding ring around the entire building as well?
Yes, that he has lightning protection specified on the roof with a grounding ring around it and grounding down to grade.
Grounding ring around the roof line or around the building on the ground?
Right now it's around the roof line and then it penetrates into the building and goes down to the ground. That's my understanding of it as it is right now.
Yeah, Commissioner, it's been my experience that you'll have a copper cable all the way around the perimeter of the roof and up on the top, and then you take 1 or 2 leads, sometimes 4 leads, all the way down and ground them.
Right.
I don't remember this exact design, but that is how typically they are done.
Well, in the facility that we just completed, we went, the grounding off the roof comes down to the ground, and then there's a complete circle loop around the entire building that they all CAD welded to the ground loop around the building.
I'd have to look at the drawing for you on that one, because I've heard the ground loop language before, and I don't know, to be honest with you, if that means that there's this copper wire underground all the way around the building, or if it means that on your 4 quadrants, a ground rod goes into the ground some number of feet, which sort of gives you a circle. So I can't honestly. Do you remember exactly, Ron or Stan?
No. And again, Stan had to walk away for a minute, but he basically just had verbiage on his drawings of what the intent was. But I can get with Francis to find out exactly what he proposed in this based on Stan's language.
Okay.
And I don't see that as a big item, Commissioner. If you said, hey, we've got to have this cable all the way around the building underground as well as on the roof, I don't see that as a problem.
Were you referring to the Starlight building?
Yes.
And I wonder, because there's some FAA rigs and you have a giant fuel tank right next door. I just wonder if it's a fair comparison with that old building.
Yeah. That's a lot.
I will tell you that usually the lightning protection system, according to the job specifications, have to meet the UIL requirements. And so it will be inspected by someone who's proficient in the underwriter's laboratories requirements to make sure that it is UIL approved.
Okay.
Commissioner Riley?
How many of these projects, as far as these historical courthouses, have y'all done?
I don't know the exact number, but somewhere around 26 or 27.
So y'all are pretty proficient in doing historical things like this?
Yes, sir. And when I say that, Commissioner, that's courthouses. We've done, Fulton Mansion, Steve's Homestead, I can't even remember all the names of the non-courthouse historic projects we've done. We've done work at the Alamo, Sam Bell Maxey House, the Landmark Inn in Castroville. We primarily do historic work and then churches. And a lot of our churches are historic.
Do you know of any other companies that do this type of work to this kind of magnitude that are even semi-local?
No, sir. To be honest with you, two companies that used to do it semi-local have gone under. JT, who was it, Ron? JT, the guy out in Bandera.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about, but I can't remember his name.
Yeah, he got into some courthouse that went way too long, and I think that put him under. And then there were some guys in New Braunfels, and they went under as well.
And this is a little, if I'm right, Kurt, that there's courthouse restoration, and then there's this type of work,
Yeah.
which is a completely different animal.
Yeah, I will say, Commissioner, and I ain't gonna bore you. But we sort of specialize in projects that are hard to do, that require structural, major structural repairs. I've done a lot of just very significant structural repair work to old structures, including I've recently put 200 drilled piers underneath the entire courthouse in Giddings, Texas. We took the basement out, put 230-foot drill piers, filled them with concrete, belled them, and then put the basement back together because the building was moving so much. And lots of other courthouse structures where I've done where the tower was sinking or moving and repaired them. Including we repaired the tower at St. Augustine Cathedral in Laredo, Texas, which that whole site's a historical site on the National Registry of Historic Places. So I don't know if that answered your question, but
I did. Thank you.
Commissioner Weir?
During this construction, y'all don't want anybody in there working as far as at the county level. Is that correct?
that's correct. There's too much heavy stuff going on above for anyone to be in there. Because my guys, I assure you, will be always wearing hard hats, protective gear, tied off when they're working. But it's just too dangerous for someone who's not in construction to be in there when they don't have to be. My guys have to be to get the job done. And I don't want to paint the picture that it's outrageously dangerous or inevitable that something will fall, because I intend for nothing to fall, but it could happen. It just could.
Did you recently do the Edwards County Courthouse?
Judge, that's been 8 or 10 years, but yes, sir, I did it.
Okay, not so recent.
Not that it matters, but I did phase 1 of Menard County about 15 or 16 years ago. And then the judge had me come out and do phase 2, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. Unfortunately, Judge Cordes ain't with us anymore, but he was a heck of a good fella.
Well, the money's daunting for me, and we're still having discussions, but I will say that if you did Edwards 8 or 10 years ago and Judge Shanklin still sings your praises, it must have been pretty good, because he's not easy to deal with.
I really like Judge Shanklin, and I will tell you, I am fixing to also do. Well, I'm starting right now on Kimball County for Judge Rose, and I love doing courthouses. There's nothing more important to me than courthouses, and I've been able to do the number I've done because I try very hard to always treat my client fair and to do a very good job. I think I've done 4 courthouses for Stan, and I've done 5 or 6 for Komatsu, and did a couple of projects I guess what I'm saying is I tend to get invited back. And I want to do you a good job and have you invite me back sometime in the future if y'all do anything else.
So, because we're looking at time on with the money situation and everything. So let's say that every hole lines up, every screw goes where it's gonna go and everything is absolutely perfect. What would you got 14 months on here, what would the minimum time be?
11
Okay.
months.
Mr. Stoddard, if y'all are if you're working on this project, day by day, do y'all pull off projects to go work on other ones for, I've seen other contractors that have left for a month or so and then came back and worked on and then left again because they were sharing their crews on different projects. And I know everybody does, but would that affect our project that much?
No, I don't do that, period. My superintendent is going to be there every day. My carpenters are going to be there every day. You can't, you got to be there because several things. Most important being if you're not there, you can't have subcontractors working, right? Or I don't. When I have subcontractors working, my guys are there watching. So I don't know for sure. My feeling is in Blanco County, we would work 5 8-hour days. And the reason I say that is in some counties, we do 4 10-hour days if they're very remote. And a lot of traveling is required. It cuts down on per diem, motel, and gas if you do that. You're so close, I feel certain we'll be there 5 8-hour work days a week, and my superintendent will be there every day for that time. You know, in all honesty, every once in a while, the subs might pull off for 3 or 4 days because they have an emergency come up. But I don't do that.
Anyone else, anything else? Any thoughts?
The only thing I got is, I know that you were talking about the money situation. If we decide to go with these, it sounds like it's gonna push us into another budget cycle anyway, even if everything fell perfectly into place.
Yes.
I don't know if this helps or not, but because I don't understand, you know, how y'all's budget years are and how that stuff works. But Judge, I mean, if we're getting down to the end and because of the way your budget works out, y'all need to pay me 60 days later, it ain't gonna break me. I mean, that's not a concern.
One more thing I guess I'd add to the equation is, I did reach out to the Historical Commission, State Historical Commission last week, trying to see if there was any avenues that were secret or not very well known for emergency funding or other ways of getting assistance. And it was kind of convoluted, but what I think I got back was, and I think Connie put it best, that an emergency for them is still 2 or 3 years in a process. So, and we don't really, I don't think have that kind of time. So, I said thank you and we moved on. Anyone have any thoughts on how to proceed?
Judge, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the county judge to enter into a contract with county attorney approval with a proposal of J.C. Stoddard Construction.
The entire proposal?
The entire proposal, including alternates 1 and 2.
Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Riley, discussion. I'm really, I guess just as a point of discussion, I want to thank you for doing that because I hate seeing it like it is right now. And I think it deserves the attention, and I know it's a lot of money, but, I don't think it's gonna get any cheaper. So, are you okay with the proposals, the proposed possible payment plan? If we have to dip into reserves, but maybe we won't, who knows? All right.
Sure.
Everybody good?
Preferred, actually.
Yes, sir. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Commissioner Easter's not here to adjourn. So I'll move to adjourn. There's a second.
Second.
Mr. Leeson, discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Oh, that.
Mr. Stoddard, can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, if you'll go ahead and get us a contract coming our way, we'll get it
Yes,
approved as
ma'am.
fast as we can.
I'll start working on it right now.
Okay, perfect. All right, well, y'all have a great day.
And I'll email it to you and the judge? I'll email
Yes.
it to you and the judge?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
That'll work.
okay,
Now you
Thank
can
you,
go.
Tom.
Now you can go.
Thank you. Y'all have a great day.
okay. Bye-bye.